from the new automations and the automatic delivery within AlarmBiller of your invoices and the generation, all the way through to some new features we have in the work orders and a few other nice surprises. So we're going to jump around a little bit, so here we go. Okay, so as you can see, I'm logged in. I'm actually logged in under our test server. Some of the functionality you see that we're going to go through today, you will not see in your current release if you're a live customer. This will be released this evening at the end of the business today. So tomorrow or later tonight, everything you see here will be available for you tomorrow. Okay, so let's start off with and talk a little bit about the automation. And just as a review, so I'm just going to go and we're going to work with this customer right here, John Johnson. And you'll notice, let me go back one screen and just go back here for 1 second. I just want to show you, go back to the home screen. We haven't done it all over the application, but you're going to notice that you used to see some view buttons. We're replacing all those with everything just to be really a hyperlink. So, for example, if want to open up this customer now, if you remember before, it used to say view to the right here. So we could get more data on screens. You now just click the customer's name and number, and that will open up this customer. And again, there's other ways to open a customer, and we'll go through those as we go through the demonstration today. So let's go through and let's go ahead and talk real quick about what you see up here, a notification. This is a very special customer, client. Now what is that? That is a critical message. So what we've done is we've taken all the notes throughout the application. So let me just come over here to notes real quick for this customer. And here you can see I added a note. I said this is a very special client. And the type of note, I called that and I made that what's called a critical note. Meaning whenever you open up this customer or a work order for this customer or anything about this customer, you're going to see that note. If you create a critical note at the work order level, you would see it anytime you opened up that work order. As well as you could create a critical note at a proposal as well as a system. So if I wanted to edit this, I just click on this edit button right here. And if I didn't want to make this critical anymore, I could just call this a standard note. And if it's a standard note, it still stays in as a note within here, but it won't automatically open up and show. The other thing you could do if it's a critical note is you could put an expiration date in here. So if I only want this critical note to show up through the end of this month, I'll just put in February 28th in here. And what will happen now is once after February 28th, this note will no longer show as critical and show on the every time you open up the customer record. So let me just go ahead and refresh to just reopen this customer. And you'll notice anytime you open the customer, you'll see that critical note right on the top of the customer screen. Okay. And there it is. Okay. And because it expires, you'll see it's going to tell you the date that this is going to expire as well. If I saw it and everything's good and I don't want to see it anymore, I just could click the X and it will just remove the box on the top. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about invoices. And just as a recap, let me just go into the edit customer. And when you set up a customer in AlarmBiller, you have 3 choices on how you want their invoices to be delivered. So if I go to the delivery method, the 3 choices are going to be email, mail, and print. So real quick, we'll just review that. If it's set up for email, that means you want AlarmBiller to automatically deliver the invoice to the customer via an email. If you say mail, then AlarmBiller is going to automatically mail the invoice on your behalf. Just remember there is a fee for each time we do that, but it's a really competitive rate and it's a great service because then you don't have to print and mail and get postage and get that invoice out the door. We just do it all for you. The third option is print, where you print it and mail it yourself. So this customer right here is set up for email, as you can see. So I just wanted to kind of show you that. So let's go back into this customer, and let's talk a little bit about the email and the automatic delivery. So what we have within AlarmBiller now And I'm going to open up another tab here. Remember, you can have multiple tabs open at any time. So I'm going to go into our Setup tab, and I'm going to go into the Automation. Now, automation has different things that you can actually turn on. So AlarmBiller will automatically perform that function for you. And one of the most popular ones is this one right here, Alomar Generation. So what this one is doing is it's saying is if you want that you could schedule on what day of the month that you want AlarmBiller to automatically generate your recurring invoices for your customers. So here we could see the Alomar Generation I have turned on, and I have selected to run it on the first day of the month. So on the first of every month, it's going to create the Alomar for the current month. And I'm going to date those invoices on the first of the current month. So here's a recap. So this is telling me the next time this is going to run. So it's next going to run on March 1st. The next Alomar invoice date will be March 1st. The invoice will date, again, March 1st. And the recurring for the funding is going to be in March based upon whatever the date is selected for that customer on their auto pay. And I'll come back to that in just a moment. So for example, if you wanted to send your invoices out earlier, maybe you want to send them out the 20th of the previous month, you would then turn around and say, let's schedule it for the 20th of the month. Now in this case though, I don't want to create it for the same month. I'm actually generating the recurring for the next month. So on the 20th of February, we would want to generate the March recurring invoices. Okay? And we want to date those invoices the first of the next month, meaning we want to date them because we're actually running it on the 20th. So here you could see on the 20th of February, we're going to generate the recurring, the Alomar for the March recurring invoices. The invoices will be dated March 1st, and we also want to fund those in March. So that's the nice way that you could go about automatically generating those recurring invoices. And then the system will automatically do it for you. Now, the feature right above it works hand in hand with that. That says invoice credit delivery automatically. What this will do is it will automatically deliver any invoices that were created to the customers via whatever invoice delivery method was set up for them. So if you've set up email, it's going to automatically email it to them. If you set up mail, it's going to automatically mail it and go through our mailing service, and we'll mail it to your customer. Or if you say print, it will automatically generate what's called the print batch, which then you will have to go in and you will have to print those invoices yourself. What's nice about this is you will get an email to you every single day letting you know how many invoices were actually printed and or emailed or delivered through the mail service. So you get an automatic email and then you know what's going on at all times. Same thing with the Alomar Generation. When that runs, it's going to tell you, and you'll get a notification letting you know that the Alomar invoices were created and sent out and delivered to the customers. The third area of the automation, it has to do with the automatic submitting of your credit cards and ACH transactions. So when you schedule them, you could schedule them in the future, but instead of having to manually go in and manually transmit them for funding, if you turn this on, then the system every day at 5 p.m., any transactions that have been created that have not been yet delivered or submitted for funding will automatically be submitted. So really, with these three options, and if you turn these on, you could literally set it and forget it and let the system generate your recurring invoices, deliver your recurring invoices, and settle your payments automatically for you, and which will automatically create the payment batches for you as well. So there's not a lot to see in this because once you understand how the software works, but it's important to understand the automation settings and how they all work. So let's go back into that customer we were talking about just a little bit ago. And in this customer, I have recurring revenue set up. So I have an RMR set up for this customer, and their next recurring date was February 1st because I just created this today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually just generate that. Now, if the automation was turned on and it was the date, it would automatically create this invoice for us. But I'm just showing you how this is done. Now here I'm generating an invoice for an individual customer. You can also go in under your invoicing and you could generate all of your recurring at any point in time if you wanted to manually as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just generate it. I'm going to date the invoice today. I'm going to fund it as of today as well in the current month. So I'm going to click continue. And what this is going to do is it's going to go off and it's going to then capture the invoice for me and bring me to my RMR processing, and it shows me there's my invoice that needs to be generated, and I'm just going to click on it to say yes, and I'm going to say process the invoice. And there's my memo. I have a default that I set up in my setup, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep that, so I'm just going to click complete invoices, and it would now generate that invoice for that customer. So let's go back into the customer now. So there's a list of all my open invoices, but I'm just going to go into that customer, so I'm just going to type in John, and this will bring up all the customers that have John in the name, and I only have one. And here we could see now the customer has a new open invoice that we just created for that call. So there's the new invoice that we just created today for $31.97. Now, this customer is also set up for an automatic payment with their credit card. So if I go to my credit cards over here, you could see that this customer has a credit card, and let's go ahead and edit this. And this says that they're set up for auto recurring. So that means when we generate the recurring invoices, it's going to automatically use this credit card, and it's going to settle that invoice with this credit card. I've also said that my default day for the processing is the 5th, meaning go ahead and hold it to the 5th of the month. And you could select any date between 1 and 28 for your hold date. So what's nice about that is what happened was when we just generated that recurring invoice, it automatically created the credit card transaction, which is right over here. And you can see it thinks it should be done on the 5th because we told it that on the 5th. And there it is to be done. Now, because I turned that automation on, so let's go back to this tab right here. This tab says process my Forte transactions. What will happen tonight at 5 o'clock, it's going to go see that, oh, there's a transaction that needs to be processed because it was supposed to have been processed by now, and it will automatically process this and settle this against this customer's account. Now, if I wanted to, I could also do that manually. I could just come over here to view it, and I could come over here and I can say submit the payment. Now, the same thing I can also do if I go to my Payments tab. So you're going to notice there's a lot of different ways to do the same thing within AlarmBiller, depending on if you want to do it for an individual customer, if you want to automate it, or if you want to do it for all your customers. So if I click on credit card and e-check transactions, this is going to show me all my open transactions that need to be submitted. Now you notice I only have one here. If I had 50, I would see 50. If I had 500, you'd see 500. And you could actually just click Submit All right from here as well, which is really the same thing the automation is going to do. The automation is just going to make sure that at the end of the day, everything that you created was submitted, so you don't have anything left open. And then the next thing you know is you didn't receive the money even though the customer said you could do it. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to submit this transaction and submit all of them. So this is now going to transmit that transaction to the credit card processor and done that. And you can see one transaction has been submitted and applied successfully. So let's go back into that customer record again. So I'm just going to type in John here. And let's bring in John. We'll go right back into them. And here now, as we go back into the customer, we can see that this customer no longer has that invoice as an open invoice. So that invoice is not showing up in their open invoice list. If I say show all invoices, you'll notice I could see that there's that invoice that was created. The amount due is now 0. If I click view, I can view that invoice, and I could see all the details on what that invoice was for, the monitoring services, and if I click on payments applied, I can see that this payment was applied today, and there it is. If I wanted to drill into the payment record, I could just click on the payment transaction number. If for some reason I wanted to unapply it, I could just click unapply and unapply that payment as well. Okay, you'll notice it says the invoice is locked due to having payments credits applied. Once a payment or credit is applied to an invoice, it's automatically locked, and that means you cannot edit it. Now, if the customer called and they wanted a copy of this, we could click deliver, and we can re-deliver this to them. I can mail it if they want it mailed, or I could put in an email address and click email, and it will just automatically email them a copy of this invoice. So nice ways, again, from the automated delivery to the manual delivery to re-delivering invoices becomes really easy with AlarmBiller. Okay, so that kind of takes us through the invoice delivery, the auto generation, and the invoice delivery. If you have any questions on those, go right ahead and put those in the questions, and we'll come back to those at the end. Okay, so I want to jump into another section right now, something that's brand new, really, really excited about, and that is automatic notification for work orders. So because I don't have my email on the computer we're on here, right here, I took a few screenshots, and I'm going to show you some screenshots that come up here. So the first one I'm going to show you is this is an automated email that gets sent to a technician when you schedule a new appointment for them. And you'll notice it's going to have your company name on here. It will not say AlarmBiller. It's going to say we have a new work order. It's a new appointment scheduled for Bill. There's what it is, work order number 27. It's appointment number 23. It's a service call. Where it's for my customer John Johnson, and there's his street. You'll notice there's a map icon or a hyperlink, so you could just click on that, and it will open up if it's in a browser, it will open up a map to that customer's location. Here I could see the customer's phone number as well as their email address. When is this scheduled? It's scheduled for Tuesday. I could see the time that it's scheduled for, and I could see who it's scheduled for. That's me as the technician, and I could see all that and all that right here as well. Okay. Now, this email right here, this one right here, and let me go to oh, I need to go to a different one. This email is the email that goes to the customer. So the customer, when this email was created, when this a new work order was created, is going to get this email letting them know that there's the same type of information, but you'll notice what it also has in here is a few different things. It will show a picture of the technician. So this is the who is scheduled, as well as you'll see that it has two buttons in here where the customer could either decline this work order or confirm it. Now, what it's going to do is if they decline it, it's going to flag it into AlarmBiller, and I'll show you in just a moment that this is a declined appointment, that the customer doesn't want you to come. If it's confirmed, it will also flag it so that you know the customer confirmed it and they're good for this appointment. So, the idea is we want to try to eliminate having you send a technician out to someone's house or business and they say, oh, now's not a good time. Didn't you get my message that I wasn't coming? And we're automating that right now, so it makes it very, very efficient. So what's going to happen is if the customer confirms it, the customer is going to get a response right away that's going to be just tell them, thank you, Bill will see you on Tuesday. If they deny it, it's going to also do that. Now, what it's going to also do is it's going to send an email if they confirm it or deny it to you, letting you know that the customer has confirmed that appointment. And that's this email right here. So it's just giving us a notification that this appointment has been confirmed by the customer. Now, let's go into AlarmBiller and kind of show you how this all works. Okay, so here we have a work order for a customer, and I'm just using an existing work order that's already here. And let's go ahead and view this work order. And when we view the work order, you're going to notice the work order has appointments. So this appointment, you'll notice now, has a green bar around it. And why? It's because this appointment has been confirmed by the customer. If we would have seen a red bar around it, that's going to tell us that the appointment was canceled or declined by the customer. So there's a few different places you'll be able to see that. The first place is right here within the work order. But let me jump over here to the calendar system. So the calendar system will also have all of our appointments for today. So here I'm looking at my technician Bill, and here is his schedule for today. So this first call we could see has already been completed. Here's his second scheduled call, and as you can notice, there is a green bar around it. Green bar is telling me it's been confirmed. If the customer would have declined this, it would tell me that it's been declined. Okay? Now, a few other things you could do within this appointment. Maybe I want to notify my technician or re-notify the technician. If I double-click on the appointment and open up this appointment, what I can then do is I can just say notify customer right over here. And what that's going to do is it's going to send a new notification to the customer, letting them know that a new email about this appointment. Or when I click Save at the end of the appointment, it's going to bring up a little text box here that says, do I want to notify the technician about this, notify the customer, notify both, or do not notify? So again, if I just wanted to notify the technician, I could just click this, and I can notify the technician of this appointment. Now, let's talk a little bit about notifying your technicians. So I'm going to jump back over here into another tab. I'm going to go to my Setup tab. And again, I apologize. I know I'm jumping around quite a bit, but there's a lot to this, as you know. So I'm going to go to my Employee Setup, and I just want to show you where you're going to set this up for the employee. So here's my employee, and this employee is a technician that we're going to set up. We're going to go into Bill's account right over here. So let me just open up Bill, and I'll click Edit. And you notice within Bill's account, this is where we can set a picture, so it knows what picture to include within there. Here is the email address for this technician, so all of his emails will go there. I can also put in his cell phone number right here, and then I'm going to choose his carrier. So you do have to pick the correct carrier for that technician. So this one is Verizon, and if I say enable text notifications, what that means is not only will it send an email, but it will also send a text message to that technician as well. So they'll get it on as a text message, which is going to be a lot smaller than an email, as well as they'll get an email notification on it. So that's how you set it up in the technician. And what's nice is once you set it up once, it's all set up and it's all good for that technician. Okay, so that is all new within here. Something else that's brand new within the calendaring system, we have now added the ability, when I double click on the appointment, I can do my dispatching, arrivals, and completions right from here. I do not have to go back into the work order to do that. So if I wanted to tell, hey, this this appointment that we're dispatching our technician Bill right now, I just put in, I could say now, or I could pick the date and time. I'll click Save. And what this will now do is I'm going to notify the customer. And the reason why I'm only going to notify the customer there, because what that will do is it will actually send an email to the customer letting them know that Bill has now been dispatched and he's on his way, which is a different email than the original email telling him about the confirmation. This is actually what's called a dispatch email. Okay. Now that he's on, you can see that he's been dispatched because it's blue. When he arrives, I could just come right over here and I could put my arrival time in. And what's nice is if I'm the technician in the field and I'm doing this on my iPad, I'm doing this right from here. So I'm keeping everything up to date on a real-time basis. So I could see that, now that this ticket, I don't need to notify anyone now just because they arrived. And I could see that this ticket now is green because my technician is on site working there. So I'm not going to go through the whole closing of a work order right now, but really trying to make it very easy for your technicians and for you to manage your work orders on a live basis. So if you're not using the calendaring system, talk to us and let us know. We'd be more than happy to show you how to use it. It is a very, very powerful feature to be able to schedule all your technicians, have your technicians managing their day, capturing their time, right down to billing for all the work that's being completed on your service tickets and on your work orders. Okay, a few other things that I want to do is I'm going to go in now and I want to open up this work order. So an easy way to open it up is, since I'm in the calendar, is I could just click on it. I could say View Work Order, and now this is actually loading the work order that we're working on for this appointment. So we added a few things to the work order, which is really nice. So the first thing we did is we added the ability to view all the system parts for that work order. So if I click on current system parts, I could see all the system parts, and I might not have anything in this one, but if I did, I would see everything that has been previously installed in that system. So this way you could see all the, if it's a burglar alarm, you could see the control panels, the keypads, and all that. Now maybe you don't have all those on file. So what we've also added is the ability, and this is really nice for when the technician is on site at the customer's location, they can just click New System Part. Now this isn't adding something to actually that's going in for the work order. It's like taking an inventory of everything they have. So I could just come over here and I could say, okay, as I walk through the home, I could say, okay, what equipment do they have? And I could just pick something that's out here. So I'm not sure exactly what all this is. I could put this and say this is by the back door. If it's hooked up to a zone, I could say it's zone 502. If I know the install date, I could put it in there. If there's a serial number, I could even track that right within here, and I could click Update. And this will now update the system with all the parts that are in there. So it's a real nice way to track all of that. The other thing that we've added to the work order is the ability to see any of the system notes. So these are just any notes that were added for that system. Different than the notes over here because these are work order notes. Work order notes are notes only for this customer, for this work order, where the system notes are any system notes that you've created for that system. Now, didn't show you this, but because I'm in the notes, I just want to show you that here's the, when the customer confirms the work order, it will automatically create a note and give you a date and time stamp that the customer confirmed this appointment. So which is really nice because every time they're doing it, not only are you getting the responses back, but it's being recorded in the system as well. So those are two nice features added to the work orders, the current system parts and the system notes. Okay, so let's move on to something else I want to show. I'm going to jump into the reports for a moment because we added a few new reports as well. And one of the reports that we've been asked for is a lot of our clients who are using AlarmBiller now, they don't pay their sales taxes based upon an accrual method. They pay their sales tax based upon the cash received. Now, we're giving no advice on which is the right way for you to do it. Please consult with your CPA and have your tax people and find out which is the best way for you to do it. But if you want to do it on the cash sales tax, there's a new report under sales called the cash sales tax report. And this report will list the sales tax for the invoices that the money was applied to based upon the date that the payment was applied to that invoice. So here you can see I'm running it for February, and let me just make it a little bigger and hit the filter button right here. And so here it's showing me, these are my different tax codes that I have to pay from. These will show me that, who the customer was, whether it was an invoice or a credit number, the payment that was applied to it, the date of the invoice, the date the payment was applied, the amount that was applied, the tax rate, what the tax amount was, what the non-tax amount was, and what the sales tax due is. So we'll give you your sales tax due for each taxing. And that's based upon, again, it's very important, based upon the date it was applied. If you unapply a payment, that will actually show up on here because you're unapplying it. And then when you reapply it, it will show up again because now you've reapplied it to another invoice. So it's not based upon the date the payment was necessarily received. It's the date it was actually applied, which is usually the same if you're receiving it and applying it at the same time. But in the situation where you received unapplied cash, it sat on a customer's account for 2 months, and then you apply it to an invoice, it's going to show up on the tax report based upon when it was applied to the invoice, because that's the only way that we can actually calculate the sales tax. Again, if you have any questions on that, just let us know. We'll be more than happy to answer those for you. Another really nice report is this new technician time report. And what this report is going to do, let me just show you this one real quick here. Where's my technician time? There it is. This report, and again, you could pick by the date range you want it, but it's going to show each technician, and then it's going to show all the work date they did on the work orders. It's going to show you their time on site, and then it's going to show you their billable minutes, and it's going to then show you what the labor charges, the rate was, and what the labor charges were for that work. So it's a real nice report to really be able to look at your technicians and get an idea of how much time they're spending on the work orders, and then also what is the billable time that they're spending on there as well. So that's a real nice report as well. Another utility, this has been around, but I always like to point this one out, is when you email customers, you don't necessarily know if it was a bad email or if it wasn't delivered to them because of spam filter. So what you can do is you can click this button right here, and I have no data to show because I just don't have any bad emails in my database, but it's what's called the rejected bounced emails. And I suggest you do this maybe once a week. Go in here because it's going to show you anyone who's not getting their invoices. You can click this time stamp filter because by default it's only going back 1 week from where you looked at it. So you might say, well, go back and show me everything that wasn't delivered, from the beginning of the year. Again, I don't have any data in here, so nothing's going to come up for me. But this would show you all the bounce rejected emails and who that customer was, and that way you can then go figure out who that customer was and call them and get a new email address and take care of it appropriately. So really good utility, and I suggest you get in the habit of using this. The other nice new report is what's called the customer auto pay. And I like this report. It's just a nice listing of all the customers that are on auto pay. And it's good to know that as well. And it's not only does it show you all the customers, it will show you if they're funded via a credit card, if they're an e-check, which credit card or e-check it is, as well as what's the day of the month that they're scheduled for their auto processing. So there's other reports. Go ahead and look at those as well, and so on. Now, one last thing I do want to point out before we're done, because we've had a few support calls for this, and it's this feature has been in the application for quite some time. But when you go to do deposits, we have the normal deposit entry, but we created what's called the new payment batch entry. And the idea behind the payment batch entry is so that you could quickly go ahead and just enter your checks, and have it automatically apply. We added this new button on notification on the top, which basically says payment batch entries will not be saved until you click the apply payment batch button. That's right here. So if you enter 10 transactions here and you close this screen and you don't click that apply batch, it's not going to save your data. And that's because this is a batch entry form. So you do need to make sure that you click on that apply batch before you do this. We've also added a warning message if you click off of this screen without doing that. So that's nice. So if I come over here and I just want to add a new payment for a customer, so I'm just going to pick my customer that I was working in, John. I'm going to put in real quick their check number. So if this was the check number, if I know the invoice I want to apply it to, I can select that invoice. You do not have to select an invoice at this time. You can leave it blank and the system will automatically apply to it. So if I say we just got a check for $100 and now I click apply batch, this will then, if I had 20 checks in here or if I just have one, it will automatically create a payment batch and it will automatically then apply that payment to that customer's record. So you'll notice now if I come in here, you'll see that we have a payment batch that we just created today, which is right here for the $100. So if I needed to modify that or change anything within there or even add another check, I'd have to go into the batch and do it. Because if I do a new payment batch, it would actually create a new payment, a deposit file as well. But I could come into here, and from here I could actually change it, modify it, add new payments if I need to do so. So that's the list of everything I had today. So let's go ahead and see if we have any questions, and I'll do my best to answer these. So if you have any, go ahead and feed those in right now. Hold on one second. Okay, so the question was, I don't have all of the same options that the instructor has. That's because as I mentioned, I'm on the pre-release of the release that's going to be released tonight. So everything that you see that I did in here today will be released tonight when we do that. Okay. I want to show something else. Let me show you one other feature that was added to here. I didn't go through my notes too good. So let me come back into here for a second. And I'm going to click on customers. This is really, really cool what we did. What we've added is when you click on the customer list, you now have your own ability to modify the fields that you see right here, as well as the ability to export this data. And you could change your layout options and actually save them so you could have different views. So for example, let me click on the available columns. So if I click on available columns, you'll notice this box comes up, and these are all the different fields that you can choose from. So maybe I want to add, maybe I don't want to see the customer's state, so I'm going to take that off, and I don't really care for right now to see their address. But I want to know their phone number, as well as I want to know how much do they have in open invoices and open credits. Okay, so there let's close this. So now I have a new view that's showing my open invoices, open credits, and there's the net balance due. And there's how much recurring revenue the customer has, and there's their phone number. So what's real nice about this, if I want to save this layout, I could come over here to layout options, and I'm just going to say that I want to call this my new layout. Okay? And I'm going to click Save layout. And you can name this whatever you want. Now, when I come back into here, I can say layout options, and I can say which one do I want to have displayed by choice. And I have one that's called collection view that I created before, or my new layout. And then if I click on the other one, it will just open up the other one, and I just say load to load it, and that's all I have to do. And now I can have it. So you could have as many different display views as you would like within here. Now what's also nice about here is you could create a default one. So by default, if you don't create one called default, it's when you come in here. So let me just refresh the screen. It will automatically load what the system default was. But if I wanted to make a new one, I just save it as default, and then anytime I open it up, it will automatically open up the one that's called my default one. So it's an easy way to do that. What's also nice is I could click export here, and by clicking export, whatever my view is right here, so if I said show every field, and I wanted every one of these fields selected, which I can do, and I said export to Excel, this would just export this list right into Excel. So I did that, and now let me just go ahead and show you. And I'm going to open up Excel here, and there's my list that I just exported to Excel. So it makes it really easy to now export everything right to Excel from here as well. The other thing you can do with this grid also is, you notice it says drag column headers here. So maybe what I wanted to do is if I wanted to take any one of these fields, so I could take my state and I could drag it to the top here, and now what I can do is I can actually, it's going to subsort this by each state. So you can see here's all my customers in Arkansas, Alabama, and here's Ohio, and so on. And to get rid of that, I just click on the X and it will remove that. If you export it with that sort, it will actually include that right within there as well. So that's a real nice feature that was added to the customer grid display. So that's really easy to use as well. I think, and I'm almost sure that that's already been released, so you should have that available. Okay, can you go back to the payment batch and show us how to add a new payment to an existing payment batch? Okay, so what I explained before is once you create a payment batch and you apply it, you cannot go in and just edit the payment batch itself by going into the payment batch. You have to go in and modify the batch. So for example, here's the one I just did a moment ago, and you notice it has $100 in there. But let's say I have another check that I want to add into it. What I really need to do is I need to edit it first, and I'd have to say, what is my deposit total? Because this is the balancing. So I'm going to say $200, because that's what I'm going to have when I'm all said and done. So now, once I add and change that, I can now go into my payment batch, and right from here, now that it needs to have, you notice I still have $100 remaining to be added, I could click on New Payment, and this is where you would have to add the payment to that existing batch. And here I would pick my customer that I want this to go to, so I'm just going to pick, let's go ahead and just pick any customer here, and I would tell it, you know, that it's a check. I can say the check number, and I'm going to apply $100 to it. Oh, that's my, I'm sorry, I got it backwards. That's my amount field. I don't know, my glasses aren't working too good. There's my check number field. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click Save. And here, now I can apply this payment. So there's all their invoices. I'm just going to say apply full payment, so it's going to automatically apply it for me. Nothing I have to do. Otherwise, I can manually apply it if I want to. And at this point, I've now added my second payment to hit this payment batch. And you notice now I am in deposit remaining is 0. So once your deposit's remaining in 0, you'll notice it doesn't say add new payment anymore, because you can't. If you needed to add a new payment, you'd have to edit it and tell it that there's more money to be deposited in there first. Okay? So that's how you would do that. All right, so let's see if there's any other questions. And if there's not, then I don't see any more today. I just want to thank you once again for joining us. The presentation will be posted to our website, so if you want to re-watch this, you're more than welcome to at any time. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call or send us an email, or best if you're already on the application, don't forget to use the support center to submit anything to us.